at the beginning of the process, you may need to go to the dealership just to do a test drive, but you shouldn't talk price when you're doing the test drive. Or you could get a price and then leave, then go home now that you know what kind of car you want, negotiate the price, get it written in an email with the VIN number of the specific car that you want, have the deal lined up, then go back to the dealer that gives you the best offer.
Hello everybody, I'm not sure how this will work. This is a bit different to what we usually do. We're back at, might not even see it in the distance here, but Bonnell Ford. I'm Winchester, Massachusetts. Site of the Coffee and Kilowatts episode we did a couple of weeks ago on dealerships and whether they can evolve or not. I'm hoping to be joined shortly by Geoff Cudd, who kind of inspired that with some of the conversations that we've had, and go a little bit deeper into the topic of car buying, the process that he's tried to install with his website, and basically what it means for EVs to come into the car dealership process, and that buying process changing because of electric vehicles. Thank you for joining me. It's Geoff Cudd of findthebestcarprice.com. I was just saying we did a video a couple of weeks ago on the dealership experience and how it might need to evolve as we come to sell electric vehicles. That was mostly inspired by your site, so thank you for that. But yeah, I wanted to take a step back and kind of maybe tap into some of your expertise on, the car buying experience for a longer period of time, since, really even before EVs came along. And, maybe just start off with some intro and background to how you got into it and how the site came to be.
Sure. And thanks for having me, Steve. So I have a car buying website, findthebestcarprice.com, completely free. It kind of started the mid 2000s. When my wife needed a new car, and she was my fiance at the time. She was looking for a Honda CR-V, and I had a business background. I've had my own consulting firm for about 20 years. And at the time, I thought, all right, you could get prices online. It was just coming out that you could connect with dealers from their websites. And I thought, all right, from the business world, anytime you made a big purchase, something over $10,000, you're not just going to go with the first vendor that you talk to. You're going to do an RFP. You're going to reach out to multiple vendors. And I thought, man, why not do this for cars? It just makes sense. So I got prices from multiple vendors, started doing basically a reverse auction. And I asked them for their prices. I said, here's the best price that I've gotten so far. If you can beat it at the end of 2 or 3 days, I'm going to buy from whoever gives me the best price. And I just treated it like a business transaction. And it worked out so great. I was able to buy the car under invoice price, which is dealer cost. And I got real excited about it, started buying some cars for friends and family. And they said, man, you should put together an ebook on this and explain the process. Mm-hmm. So I did. And I kind of let it sit for a while, just gave advice to people. Eventually I put together a website, but I still had a consulting firm to run. So I sold that business a few years ago and put some renewed energy and life into the website and really flushed it out quite a bit more and been helping people buy cars ever since.
Whether looking to buy, a traditional car, hybrid, electric vehicle, whatever, what process do they go through once they arrive at the site?
Sure. So there's 2 big aspects to the site. One is I have a small team that curates deals from every single manufacturer. So usually car brands put out new incentives once a month. So we scour the web and we collect all of those incentives. We publish them all on the site, so it's easy to find in one place. And we also curate them. So we go through and we do our top picks by different categories. So best EV deals, best lease deals, best zero APR deals, that sort of thing. So curating deals is one aspect of the site. The other aspect is buying guides. So as I kind of alluded to at the beginning here, there's a very straightforward process to systematically lower your car price by getting prices from multiple dealers, making them compete against each other. So I outlined that as a free guide on the site. There's email samples there, so you can just put in what type of car you want, your personal information, copy and paste the sample, send it to dealers. I have similar guides for leasing a car, for financing, and for trade-in, but really buying a car is the bread and butter on the website.
Awesome. I wish we'd known about you 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Would have saved us a lot of separate emails. Although we did, thinking about, about our first 2017 Bolt, that's pretty much what we did, but with less, automation by the sound of it, less support. We sent out a lot of emails, a lot of text messages. Yes, it works, but it would be nice to have something in there, as you say, that does a lot of that for you and does a lot of the heavy lifting.
Did you get a good deal?
Yeah, I think we did for the time. We're actually paying half of what we half now of what we paid initially, but it's so changes so fast. At the time there were very few deals because the Bolt had only just come out. But we found one, our local dealer, who I would have loved to work with, really, because they were very knowledgeable. Just couldn't give us a good price on it. Their lease was a third more expensive than the one we got in the end. So it pays to shop around, even if you love the dealership and they seem on the up and up. It's some of them just don't have the pull that others do, I guess.
I always go back to the dealership that I first, like, if I ever test drive and give them a chance to beat the deal. But unfortunately, it's few and far between when they can beat the deal that you find other places.
I don't think it's just the case in the US that, I'm from the UK originally, that car dealers have a very similar kind of, reputation, whether it's guys in polyester suits, all slick back hair, or just very, and a lot of the time when people think of car dealerships, they're not thinking a fun weekend out. They're thinking kind of the necessary evil to get into a car they love, right? So from your perspective in the US market and what why do car dealerships have such a bad reputation, do you think?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think a lot of it boils down to compensation. So car salesmen have very low salaries. They're largely commission based,
right.
And so they've really got to fight to get deals. And there's a lot of competition. So they're fighting against all of the other local dealers of their same brand and every other brand. So they're doing everything that they can. And unfortunately, that's resulted in them having to use a lot of psychological tactics to try to extract your money from your pocket. And it stinks that it's become that way. So there's a lot of shady car salesmen. There's a lot of honest car salesmen. There's a lot of people in between. But I think they don't even realize that they're doing these persuasive tactics anymore, and that they're maybe less than ethical. I mean, any dealership you walk into these days, they've got their list of tactics that they try. Like the first thing they always do is ask you, well, what kind of monthly payment do you want? Sounds like an innocuous question, right? But they're trying to squeeze the most money they can from you, that you commit to a payment, and they can shift around things to get you to that payment, but you're going to pay a ton more money. They could get you a loan on the car and add an extra 2 years onto the life of the loan to get you that payment. You're going to pay more. And it doesn't seem like they're being sleazy, but it's kind of tricky.
You put yourselves obviously in between the dealership and the buyer in this sense, but you're still having to deal with those dealerships, right? You still know the pain points of buying the car. How does the site kind of, and you yourself, with the guides and the things that you put up, set out to solve those pain points and to kind of mitigate the experience that we've just discussed?
Yeah, so I guess the answer is I try to educate consumers as much as possible and give them some information before they start talking to car dealers. My main advice is don't negotiate a deal on the car lot. Do everything online. Start with emails. You may have to make a few phone calls, but really I'm trying to get a little more transparency into the whole process. Dealers have so many different pricing tricks. So if you look at the list of fees that you're charged anytime you buy a car, it's a mile long. I mean, there's dealer prep, advertising fees, doc fees, registration fees. Some of the fees are negotiable. Some of them aren't. Some of them are charged by the state and things like that. But no consumer and a lot of dealers do know much about the fees. It's hard to negotiate them. You don't know where to start. You don't know how much wiggle room is on each of the fees. So what I am a proponent of is don't worry about the fees at all. There's no sense in worrying about them. All you care about is the total price that you walk out the door with. So that's what you should be negotiating. And if the dealers need to juggle around the fees to get you a lower price, it doesn't matter whether they're taking it off this fee or that fee. You just want to know the total price. So if you negotiate over email and you say, give me your best price, I'm going to compare it to other best prices. You don't care about the fees.
Mhm.
So that creates a level of transparency, and that's what I'm trying to help consumers get to.
Obviously this channel is electric vehicles focused, so there's a slightly different process of buying, because at the moment what I tend to find is that a lot of electric vehicle buyers have already done their own research, you know, not least through stuff like we're talking about now. They've been on YouTube, they've researched the model, they've, you know, watched other people do test drives even if they haven't done one themselves. So they tend to have a lot of the car knowledge before they go in. I think that's going to change a little bit over the next 5 to 10 years, just because, you know, more and more people are going to come in from you know, traditional cars that maybe haven't got the EV parlance, haven't, you know, got the desire to watch 3 hours of video just to get an idea what the car is like. But, you know, with regards to the dealerships themselves being in a position to actually answer these questions, how do you see car dealerships evolving over the next 5 to 10 years to meet the changing model, changing technology? Or, you know, do you even really see them able to meet that challenge?
Good question. So I think things are going to shift more online for sure. And it's already starting to happen with COVID and people being afraid, for good reason, to come and interact in the dealership. So you're able to do a little bit more online than you used to. I think you're going to be able to complete more of the purchase process, maybe even do the entire transaction online. But the dealership's still going to be around. There's a couple reasons for that. You're still going to need to test drive. You're still going to need to use the service department, things like that. I think that they're going to act as sales brokers, even if it's online. So they'll still push you to come to the dealership like they do now, but they may also start pushing for Zoom calls and things like that, where once they're engaged in a conversation with you, they can apply some sales techniques to get you on the hook. And so they're going to do everything in their power to have that kind of conversation with you, even if it has to be virtual. So expect a lot more Zoom calls, but expect more of the process online, which is great. I also think that the negotiations overall, the disparity in prices that we'll see from negotiations where some consumers pay this, some consumers pay this, it's going to start leveling out and they're going to get to around the same price. And that's because prices are becoming somewhat more transparent. You can see the market value of what other people have paid online. So there won't be as much of that up and down. And really, car price itself is not the biggest profit center for the dealer. The service department, the financing, those are the big profit centers. So they want to move the car, take their little profit, and then get you in the funnel for the other things. So those prices will stabilize eventually, I think. At the beginning of the process, you may need to go to the dealership just to do a test drive, but you shouldn't talk price when you're doing the test drive. Or you could get a price and then leave, then go home now that you know what kind of car you want, negotiate the price, get it written in an email with the VIN number of the specific car that you want, have the deal lined up, then go back to the dealer that gives you the best offer and take it in. And you shouldn't have any more negotiations to do, at least on the car price. You're still going to have to negotiate your trade-in and your financing. And that's a whole nother beast.
So this is all good stuff. Presumably a lot of this is also on the website. Are there any kind of documents that you've got, downloads that you want to point people to whilst we're on the topic?
Yeah, for sure. So if you hit the website on the top menu on the left-hand side, it says car buying guides. And there you can see guides for buying a car, leasing a car, trade-in, and financing. And read through those. They're pretty long, but they'll take you through step by step of what to do.
Traditionally, you know, at least if you're on the Tesla side of things, that those guys just want car dealerships dead. They've got no interest in seeing these people ever again. But I think there's a lot of people who do want that comfort of having a service center nearby, having someone they can go and talk to when, you know, their car has, you know, not even a catastrophic failure, you know, just something that they have a question about and maybe it gets fixed, you know, that same morning. But it kind of speaks to the experience that we've seen with the Ford Mustang Mach-E, just with, initial reports of price gouging and dealerships trying to mark up the price because it's going to be an in-demand car for the first 6 months as supply is constrained.
Mhm.
But the forums and the people who are in the know, because they are waiting for these vehicles, fighting back and saying, well, that price is way too high, we're not going to accept it. Here are the dealerships that are willing to say they will not sell over MSRP. Or they can go to an owner's forum, go to a group that's interested in the vehicle, and find exactly where to go to, which dealership's going to be legit with them, what the price is, and what they should expect when they get there. So I think it all speaks to that buying online actually going into making the dealerships a little more legit, if you like, or trying to shy away from those measures because they can get exposed pretty quickly, one way or another. EVs aside, going back to any kind of car, people have the information they need through sites like yours and owner forums. Anybody else who's been through the experience and learned the hard way, that information is out there for them.
I think there's going to be a lot more third parties in the space offering service contracts and things like that. And I've talked to a few people who are looking to get into that space, and I think whether they brand themselves as a third party that you become aware of, or the dealerships white label it and resell their services, I think you're spot on. There's a lot of money for them to be made there, but there's also more cost-effective ways for consumers to get the support, and tech support is going to be huge.
One of the main portals against the argument of, well, EVs run for longer, we have less maintenance, on the calendar, so dealerships are never going to come across. I think there's enough people out there who will want walkthroughs and hand holding in that process to kind of bring them back, if you like. They might find the dealership is actually their best friend at the end of the day, rather than someone they want to avoid every few months.
Yeah, as nice as virtual walkthroughs are, I can't imagine ever purchasing a car without sitting in it and feeling it first. I mean, that's just me. Maybe I'm dating
Honestly, I
myself.
mean, it's kind of timely because we're coming up to, this is like the pinnacle of National Drive Electric Week. So we've had, events all week, a lot of different, virtual, online. Most of it's been, presentations and people going through their cars. I tried to do one last week, and honestly, it's so much less effective. It's nowhere near as good as getting some bums in seats is always the thing people use to say it. You have to be in an electric vehicle to feel the instant torque, to understand the smoothness of the ride, to get why one pedal driving is anything that anyone really cares about and not just another gimmick.
Uh,
You can't get that. You can watch 100 videos of people being shocked by Tesla's ludicrous mode, but it doesn't compare to actually sitting in one and driving it yourself. So I think you're dead on with that, and it's only going to be more true of electric vehicles as we try and move towards those cars.
yeah, I haven't experienced one pedal driving. I'm curious to hear more about that.
It feels very. I just did Polestar 2 down in New York City, and I was happy to find it had very similar to the Bolt, which is a much lower car, obviously, and the acceleration is crazy in the Polestar 2. But it's the kind of symbiotic feel of only having that one pedal, being able to feather it, and having very fine granular control over the acceleration and deceleration. The driving dynamic is definitely very different. I do recommend it, but obviously, as we say, it's these kind of times when you can't necessarily get out and do a lot of that. So you kind of alluded to the car price being only a small part and not even that significant compared to the maintenance, the services post sale. That would be another area that I think needs to evolve through the dealerships, and the software to me is one of the biggest opportunities. We're getting any cars now are moving towards having a very large iPad essentially in the center of the console, where it's a very early stages, but we're talking about software as a service,
Yeah,
different types of things that plug into the car. I know GM is talking about subscriptions for Super Cruise that you turn off 1 month, but then you go on a 2,000-mile road trip across the country and you pay them $20-$30 to turn on for a month.
yeah,
That seems like somewhere where a dealership could take a chunk of that money, or perhaps it's almost like a point of sale in your car now. I know we get a lot of kickback from OEM navigation and software being awful, But, you know, if they can get on in front of that curve, there's a lot of money to be made, you know, to my mind, just from selling stuff through your, you know, kind of center console. In that area as well, I'd be interested to hear, you know, what dealerships can maybe do, flip it on the head and give this back to the dealerships and say, here are some steps, you know, from people who are outside looking in, at what you might want to do to kind of move into this next generation of buyers.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think it'd be nice to see dealerships get into the like the Tesla model and just you know, have one price that's non-negotiable. I don't see that happening anytime soon, just because largely the legality. It's not like another manufacturer can easily come in and do direct sales to consumers. I mean, there's been lawsuits. What is it? Rivian is I think in the middle of a lawsuit trying to see if they can do direct sales in Michigan, and it's not working out very well. I think because dealerships want to squeak out their profits. So I think for a while they're going to be the sales middleman, but I'd like to see the prices get you know, less wiggle room and just be a fixed, decent price that you can just not have to negotiate a whole bunch, and then just provide quality service pre-sales and post-sales. So help out with the test drives and help out with the service afterwards. And as far as the pre-sales goes, it'd be nice. I don't know if this is going to happen, but I'd love for the dealerships to start covering more brands. I mean, I love the CarMax experience where you go in and you can test drive a whole bunch of different cars on the same lot. You don't have to drive from dealership to dealership to dealership. Some dealerships carry a couple brands, but I don't think we're going to see you know, 15 different brands at the same dealership, new cars at least for a while. Although that would be nice.
Yeah, I guess there's a element of the brand experience there as well, right? If you walk into a
Right.
Porsche or Audi dealership, it's going to be very different from a Chevy or a you know, Hyundai dealership. So you have to balance that out too.
I'd love to see a third party come in and just buy each of the cars, maybe even offer a test drive center where they're not selling. They just charge you $100, come in for 3 or 4 hours and test drive 15 different cars. That'd be great. Somebody has that idea, yo.
Final question. Just on, you know, we talked about dealerships evolving. How do you see the findthebestcarprice.com evolving in the next 5 years or so? Where do you want to take it? What do you expect it to, what role do you expect it to play, you know, more and more in the car buying public's experience?
Okay, well that's a good question. I got to think about that one.
Come back to it.
Yeah, I mean, my short-term plans. I'm going to get more into reviewing specific model cars, I think, and providing some advice on that. I largely cover new cars at the moment, and not a whole lot about used cars. So I'd like to dive into that, provide a little more car buying advice for used cars. In the long term, I'd love to be able to change my guides around in my model to not be so complicated, and help users buy a lot easier without having to send emails to different car dealers to get prices and things like that. It's a necessary evil because you can't get a transparent out the door price that's competitive from every dealer in a simple way. There's been a lot of startups over the years that have tried and failed to offer that kind of thing. There's certainly some new models on the horizon, but it would be nice to just promote a very simple service where you could just go online and know, hey, this is the best car price, and I want to add it to cart. I'm interested. Check out, buy the car online. We're a little ways away from that, but when we get closer, I hope my website will evolve to help facilitate that.
Awesome. Good stuff. Good stuff. So I guess we can, you know, unless you have any questions or, you know, things you want to underscore what we've talked about, you know, you can let people know where they should go to check out the website. Any final closing key takeaways of, you know, what they can do to make their car buying experience a little bit smoother?
Sure. So to go to the website, it's findthebestcarprice.com /EV. If you put in the /EV at the end, I'll know you saw this video and came through from Steve's channel. My goal is to just help remove some of the stress from the process. If you follow the process online, you don't have to go to a dealership lot and deal with the stress of sitting in a dealer's office and haggling with a salesman for hours. So that alone, you can get this done in a couple of hours. Negotiate online. It's simpler, it's stress-free, and yeah, that's about it. Thanks for having me, Steve.
Music to our ears. I think we could all use a bit less stress in our lives at the moment.
Yeah.
It'll certainly be something people could take a bit of a easier route. So yeah, thank you, Geoff. I appreciate your time and sharing your experience with us. I hope everybody is able to visit the site. Again, findthebestcarprice.com/EV. You'll find a lot of articles as well about electric vehicles, the best lease or best deals of the current month, a lot of car buying guides, as Geoff said. So definitely go take a look around, put in your zip code and see what you can find. And this won't be the last you hear of us, I think. So look forward to future conversations. And thanks, Geoff, for your time.
Thanks again, Steve.
Have a good one.
You too.